Welcome to the Danny Clinkscale Reasonably Irreverent podcast. Insightful and witty commentary, probing interviews, and detours from the beaten path.
Welcome to Arts and Lifestyle Wednesday, presented by Cinematic Visions. And we took a little hiatus at Danny and Jane's Reconcilable Differences. It's actually Reconcilable Differences with Danny and Jane, but our little logo picture says the opposite, so you can just do it any way you like. The people out there that like this podcast, we're calling them reconcilers. So reconcilers, welcome aboard for another edition as we're back at it, and we are talking about, and Jane doesn't even know this, I am springing this completely on her. This is completely unrehearsed today. We are talking about consumption. Now, consumption might just be one of the most versatile words in the history of the English language. It covers being a consumer. It covers what you consume. It covers conscientious and overt consumption. It also is something that many, many people died of around the turn of the century, as consumption was the word used then for tuberculosis before it was eradicated. It took a long time and a lot of money, but eventually they did. They found a serum for it around 1950, as a matter of fact. See, I do research for this thing, too. But consumption, of course, and that disease was such a dreaded disease that it's in many, many great pieces of literature and art, including La Traviata, which we'll get to in a moment. But anyway, consumption of various kinds is the topic today on Reconcilable Differences with Danny and Jane, right here on the Reasonably Irreverent podcast, and this particular one presented by Cinematic Visions on Arts and Lifestyle Wednesday. Cinematic Visions has been an affordable solution for professional media production in Kansas City since 2003, offering award-winning video production and creation, as well as a wide array of digital and social media management services. From planning, scripting, filming, editing, and post-production, to delivering your product to a watching world, Cinematic Visions will provide professional and affordable services for you and your business with the necessary return on investment to make it all worthwhile. Cinematic Visions' goal is to unlock the power of storytelling through video and a strong online presence for your company. Beyond the numbers, they want to inspire and evoke your clients to feel and act. Let my friends at Cinematic Visions embed your brand where it belongs, in your customers' minds. You can find them online at cinematicvisions.com or with a quick phone call at 816-600-6300. I'm here with Tim Emerson, the owner of Emerson & Company. And Tim, give us an idea of the range of services that you provide from Emerson & Company.
At Emerson & Company, we do credit card processing, payroll services. We do bookkeeping, merchant accounts like point-of-sale systems.
What would you say differentiates you from other companies in the field, and what makes you special?
I think what makes us unique is that we're a small local business making regional decisions on companies. We create a profile for the business and then put it out to our different vendors in a very competitive environment and tailor those needs to the specific business, which usually ends up in a great fit or great result for the company.
And, of course, the idea is to save money, right?
Save money, and actually sometimes I'm surprised where actually a solution that may cost a little bit more ultimately does save money, but we're not conditioned to think like that sometimes.
Emerson & Company. Check them out at emerson-co.com or call them at 816-360-9092.
Hi, everybody. This is Matt Llewellyn from 23rd Street Brewery in Lawrence. I just want to thank everybody for supporting local restaurants during this time of uncertainty. 23rd Street Brewery is now open until this pandemic is over. And right now, more than anything, local restaurants need your help and support. Come on out and see us. 23rd Street Brewery is open now from 11:30 till 9 o'clock for dine-in and carry-out. Whatever we can do to help you out, maybe with your catering needs, too. I appreciate all the support, and thank you for continuing to shop local.
Most of us have experienced auto accidents, and it's no fun. And even less fun is trying to work on the insurance aspects afterwards and getting full value after an auto accident. I'm here with David Cowan from WreckExpert.com. And David, you have an unusual and important niche for people after an auto accident.
We have a passion to teach car wreck clients what they deserve. Getting your car repaired only fixes the damage and the paint. Getting paid for your car's loss in value is called diminished value. Chances are you've never heard of this before because most people aren't looking out for you. We help people collect thousands to tens of thousands of dollars for their car's loss in value after the wreck.
And if somebody wants to come to you for that, what's the original assessment cost them?
We offer a free review of any insurance claim to see how we can help.
You can't beat that. Great expertise and assistance in getting full value after an auto accident from David Cowan. Visit recexpert.com and learn more.
If you'd like to join these and other great sponsors and market your business to a growing and engaged audience, contact us at Danny@DannyKlinkscale.com. Look forward to hearing from you.
We're back. Thanks to Cinematic Visions, always, for presenting Arts and Lifestyle Wednesday. And let's just start off with dedicated reconcilers will know that Jane, of course, had an accident a couple of months back and is almost back to full speed, kind of, sort of, including yesterday a full-blown walk all the way around the big block with Charlie, the rambunctious pug. He's not really a pug. He's a pup.
He's a pup. He's a flying dachshund / Jack Russell. Yes, and I had to be very careful. I broke my ankle a couple of months ago, and man, does it feel good to get out and try to walk again. I wasn't perfect, but I kept on moving, so that was fun.
We talked about consumption being called, or was the word for tuberculosis back in the day, which actually kind of resonates today, obviously, to say the least, because it was an airborne disease that affected the lungs. But it is part of the narrative of La Traviata. What's your experience with La Traviata, obviously, as a high-level professional opera singer?
Well, it's so funny. That's what I immediately thought of when you said the word, since you didn't tell me what our topic was going to be today. Oh, my God. I studied the role of Violetta from Traviata for many, many years and performed it in New York and in Europe. And, the character development in that, if you really want to, I started in theater first, so I still actually, that's important. Some opera singers only care about the singing voice, but it was really an exciting time to focus on a character like that when there was no cure, and this great love in her life, and changing her position in life from madam about town to being part of this fabulous man's family was going to be a problem because she knew she had consumption from the beginning of the play. It's based on the famous Dumas book,
right?
And so that's a very sad thing, and I think about it quite a bit when we're thinking about this pandemic now. So
I think people think of opera purely in terms of the tragic ones, and there are comic ones, but I think maybe many of the famous ones are tragedies.
Oh, true, but people don't. Verdi's Gianni Schicchi has this fabulous, opera buffo role for, it's the father who's, dying, and all of his relatives are standing around waiting for him to, kick the bucket. So we could talk about the will.
And there's usually comic characters even in the ones that are.
But that one is fun. There's a lot of fun ones. Nobody talks about them.
I know. That's kind of what
I'm sorry, Puccini, not Verdi.
Right.
Sorry.
There you go. Puccini referenced in Smokey Robinson songs also, as a matter of fact. By the way, the overarching theme of this is consumption, so we're going to start off with the consumption of scotch. It falls into a category, I think, with three, and there's probably more of them. People can tick them off. Make a list. Send it to me at Danny@DannyKlinkscale.com of things that nobody would say are immediately attractive to the palate, like coffee and beer, for that matter. All have ancillary benefits, be it perking you up in the morning. But anyway, you are a scotch drinker. How did your relationship with scotch develop?
I was thinking about that. It's funny you brought this up yesterday. I don't know why. But I think, okay, so my parents, that was sort of their drink of choice. So I was around it when I was younger. I didn't think about this. But then, darn it all, if I wasn't at University of Michigan and my boyfriend there, who is this famous music conductor, violinist, blah, blah, blah. Well, he would serve me straight Chivas he would serve it to me sometimes in a wine glass. And so I think at first I was like, oh, this is just too much. But then I found myself loving it with little rocks. And then all of a sudden, it's just kind of became my, I think it's something in our bloodstream. My sister does not like Scotch, but she's the only one in the family. She goes for vodka, can't do it. But Scotch seems to be my drink of choice.
You've explained to me that when you've tried to drink other things, sometimes as a maybe a small term weight loss plan or something like that, that it just doesn't do it for you from the standpoint of when you have your first sip or two of Scotch. It's kind of a full body experience.
Oh yeah, it's like numbing thigh feeling. It's the fabulous. There's something about that. I don't know. Part of it also is like if I drink vodka, I think I get agitated and I always get a headache. And with wine, I like to drink maybe a glass, but then I can find myself getting a headache. With Scotch, I don't know why. I also can sing with Scotch. I cannot sing with, a lot of singers have this problem. If they drink wine, their vocal cords swell or they dry out on other stuff. Scotch ain't a problem for me. Sounds like a good song title. Scotch ain't a problem for me.
Well, it can be a problem, but not in your case. But anyway, I remember when I started drinking beer, it was in high school with my brother and there was no alcohol in our house. Neither of my parents drank ever. We didn't.
God help you.
We didn't have people over socially at all ever at our house.
God help you.
Well, there were 6 little rambunctious children all the time, so it wasn't exactly a party home. And my dad worked at night a lot of times too for much of his career. But anyway, we had liquid. It was for liquid courage, basically, when we were going to go to a dance. Both of us were very shy around girls. My brother would certainly outgrow that. But my brother Jim's nearest to me in age. I have 3 brothers. But anyway, so we would sit in the parking lot before going into the gym and slam down 3 Schlitz draft bottles. Now, that's a bad indoctrination to beer because it was bad. I mean, Schlitz is not good beer in any way, shape, or form. So it kind of turned me off maybe to it. And then I went to college, and really and then I just, the beer of choice, or at least coming out at that time, was Coors Light, which tastes like almost nothing. And so you kind of learn, and then eventually I've turned into a craft beer enthusiast. And
Hams.
ooh.
Bad.
But anyway, ham's not good either. Well, let's turn to something that we consume that's a little more erudite, which is reading. And you read books more than I do. You just settle into bed a little bit more. You're involved in a project now that has maybe taken that away from you a little bit, but we may visit that eventually here on this podcast, but we'll wait and see. But it seems like your bent of what you like to read is either biographies or historical fiction. Would that be correct?
Some historical fiction. I list nonfiction history, honestly. Anything I'm not really as big a fiction fan, although if it's based in history, yes, or it's just a really, really great story, I will jump in it. But I don't know what it is. I think, I always feel like I learn something from any biography I've read in how someone has dealt with, apathy or, a complex issue in their life, whether it was, I was just reading about the Roosevelts, fabulous book. And, just thinking about their trials and tribulations during World War II, I'm really focused on that in relation to what we're dealing with now, and an amazing government that actually tried to help the people. I'll stop.
The other area that seems like a real, and maybe it's because of me, because I oftentimes will see a book and say, oh, Jane would like that book. You have read a lot of biographies about strong women of Hollywood.
Yes.
And Barbara Stanwyck, I think,
Yes.
was that, a 900-page book or something? I don't know.
Did I finish it? I don't know.
I think you did. But Barbara Stanwyck is an incredible woman and powerful and really put her foot down on many occasions about the things that went on in the studio. You've got a book. Neither of us know where it came from now, by Lee Grant, right. Actress and another strong-willed person. So that seems to be something that attracts your attention.
Barbara Stanwyck is so fascinating a person. I didn't really fully understand. Her mother died. She was trying to get off a train trolley. I think she was only 3 or 5 years old. No dad. she was an orphan so young, and she had to become street smart so early in her life. We'll never know what her early childhood really was like, but she found herself having talent, was able to scrounge herself up into the Broadway stage, and then married a well-known comedian actor that ended up going to Hollywood with her when she started climbing, the ranks there. And to see how she dealt with, there was still a lot of adversity in her personal life, even when she was shooting to stardom. So, the glow of the lights is not ever like it is really truly behind the scenes. So you learn a lot, but she just persevered and stuck it through.
I think a lot of people think of her as just a tough person, but if we could recommend one thing to get a barrel of laughs from, it would be Ball of Fire.
Oh my God.
Which is just the funniest film, and she plays a gun moll basically. And
what is that, Danny? Some people in your audience.
Oh, that would be the girlfriend of a criminal, basically.
Right.
Is what it is, and a high-level organized criminal.
Is that in the dictionary?
Gun moll? I would think so. I don't know. It's in the film noir dictionary.
Yes,
I know
that's
that.
It.
But anyway,
Gary Cooper.
She hides out in a home of a bunch of professors who are writing a book about slang, and they want to use her and her ability to talk jazz slang. It's a hysterical movie. For those of you who like old movies and you haven't experienced that one, Ball of Fire, great director. For those of you who've never even tried an old movie, this one would be a great introduction to it. It's hysterical. Gary Cooper plays the part that he's kind of best at, which is sort of a, like bumbling, attractive doofus of sorts.
He's very appealing. That's all I can say.
Well, we'll get to that a little bit later on. We'll get to that in part 2 of this particular podcast as well. In fact, we'll get to that coming up next, as you just said words that provided a perfect segue to what I already had written down here. So that will come up next on Reconcilable Differences with Danny and Jane on our Arts and Lifestyle Wednesday, presented by Cinematic Visions.
More of Danny's Reasonably Irreverent podcast after this.
We're here with Joe Spiker, the CEO and president of Easton Roofing. And Joe, you had a great year in 2019, a record year. 2020 comes, things are moving smoothly along, and then the coronavirus comes. But your company seemed to be very ready, very proactive, and very ready to serve your customers well.
Yeah, we adopted social distancing very early before the cities even put out the notices. And we started working from home. We are largely cloud-based as a company, so that transition was easy. Our technicians are wearing masks and gloves, and salespeople are not meeting with homeowners. We're doing everything digitally and doing everything we can to do our part to get over this as quickly as possible.
So for any needs that people have right now, what's the best way to get in touch with you?
Well, you can always call us, 913-257-5426. But the best way is to go to eastonroofing.com, put your information in, and we'll give you a call.
Easton Roofing. Integrity matters. We're visiting with Larry Marshall, former Chiefs defensive back and punt returner, and now a Chiefs ambassador. Larry is a former pro football player with the aches and pains that come with that, and moving on in age as we all are. What do the Canaway CBD products do for you?
It's been a great relief for me. Being a punt and kickoff returner, collisions were a mainstay of my career, and these Canaway products, the salve especially, has really helped me try to get through every day with the aches and pains that I've had over a career of 7+ years in the NFL.
I get similar benefits as well, particularly with my back. Certainly wasn't a football player. What's the best way for our listeners to get more information about the great products themselves?
Well, I'm so enthused about it, Dana. They just contacted me at larrymarshall.canaway.com, and I can give them all the information they need to help them get through the day as well.
Start gaining all the benefits that Larry and I do from the trusted and reliable line of Canaway products. As Larry said, visit larrymarshall.canaway.com and get information on all the great products from Canaway. It's time now to get some great assistance on healthcare with Chad Beisel from NoNonsenseHealthcareNinja.com. And Chad, even your business's name would indicate that you have a real aggressive way and an important way to go after some health insurance for your clients.
What I've found out in the industry is just a lot of people are really confused. They don't know what plans are good, what their plans offer, how they cover. And so I've just taken the approach of being really educated on what options are available to clients and showing them all the options that are available and making sure they understand them so they can pick and choose what options are good for them.
And one thing that's really important, of course, is access to doctors and hospitals.
Absolutely. That's becoming a big issue for a lot of people. Some of the plans out there are going to restrict those clients to where they can and cannot go. So if you live just outside the Kansas City metro, some of the counties outside, you may not be able to go to some of the hospitals up here in the Kansas City area. So making sure that you have a plan that's got doctors and hospitals and places you want to go is really, really important today.
Learn more by visiting NoNonsenseHealthcareNinja.com and let Chad help you. Let's spend a minute with Dr. Brad Woodle, who, along with his wife, Dr. Christina Woodle, the owners of Advanced Sports and Family Chiropractic and Acupuncture, my home for chiropractic care. And first of all, just tell us about the wide range of services you offer.
Danny, we offer comprehensive chiropractic, acupuncture, physiotherapy, and rehab. We do a very thorough examination, x-rays on site as necessary, and we have a full rehabilitation department, so we can help out with exercises, stretches, different therapies for the complex, but also the very simple conditions we treat.
You have been deemed essential and have remained open all through this COVID-19 process. What are some of the things you've done to make sure that was the case?
From the very beginning, in March, we started to make sure that we were cleaning and sanitizing with EPA-registered sanitizing products. We also implemented masks way before the state required them. We implemented a parking lot waiting room, took out half of the chairs in our waiting room, and made sure to space out visits so we could appropriately meet, discuss, and also screen patients to make sure we were taking care of healthy people.
Find out more about Advanced Sports and Family Chiropractic and Acupuncture and how they can help you at ASFCA.com. If you'd like to join these and other great sponsors and market your business to a growing and engaged audience, contact us at Danny@DannyKlinkscale.com. Look forward to hearing from you. We are back and having a good time, as we usually do. A big smile on my wife's face. Even if she doesn't mean it, she fakes it well. I know you always mean it, and I'm reasonably sure you don't fake it. But Jane is almost the a female person version of our dog, our corgi. You always kind of look like you're smiling even when you're not. It's a beautiful smile.
There are different versions of a smile.
Right. I wrote a blog the other day about little pleasures in life, and it opened and closed with the line that said, "My wife's smile. So nice I had to say it twice." And that's absolutely true. But you just talked about Gary Cooper is quite appealing. And we'll get into this in a different way. Last night, speaking of consumption, we watched the first half. We're going to consume the other part of an Austin City Limits that was recorded in 2018 with Dan Auerbach, who was one of the two guys who were in the Black Keys. And we're watching. It's a great show, and he's backed by some really famous Memphis session musicians, some real cats from Memphis. And so we were very much enjoying it, but at one point Jane paused and said, if only he was a little bit more attractive. And there's no question that both of the guys in the Black Keys, which I find really incredible and refreshing, are pretty homely men. I mean, I guess that's about the only, or at least funny-looking. Dan Auerbach has very sunken eyes, looked like he's just smoked weed for 25 years.
I know, he has a pasty-looking face, and it's like, no matter how good the music is, I think if you're listening to them, you don't think about it, but when you're watching and you're committed to watching a program of someone performing music, isn't that awful? I had to say it. I was like, God, he's just could really use a little uptick in he always looks like a little bit like he's not quite, he's probably deliberately got that slightly, disheveled look.
Right.
It doesn't work as well on him as others.
Well, he's probably the glamour boy of the Black Keys. I
feel bad.
Two of them.
I feel bad because I really, really love
anyway,
their music,
his solo music is absolutely fantastic. He wrote a couple of songs on this particular show with John Prine, and they were beautiful songs. So another good recommendation for you to look up a 2018 edition. And now I have the thing written down with, the other act, which we're going to watch the rest of it tonight, is called Shiny Ribs. And they're just crazy, and we're looking forward to getting into that, sort of an Austin legend there as well. But that sort of got me into the thought of, when we've often gone to the movies or watched movies or consumed music or whatever, we always use the phrase together, that guy's really struggling, which means that he's ridiculously good looking. It's sort of parlance for that. But oftentimes, if I say that, it will be a classically handsome person, and you will not say that you go for that.
Yeah, that's funny.
Which I guess I could take as a negative.
I I don't
But
know.
like
no,
Brad Pitt, for
his
instance, I think
own, right.
like say, well, not for me.
He doesn't quite. It's just he's almost too much. I don't know. I like somebody with just a little quirkiness.
Although
you
like Robert
look,
Redford.
Well, there's that. Yes, that there was something else going on there. I think that's a mind with a body. That's very attractive.
I think one of the things you said is that you seem to want to think that there's something going on beneath the surface that isn't quite on the surface.
Right. There's maybe that's what it is. Like people to me, and I'm assuming that's an intellect. I may be wrong, but maybe if you're just talking about actors, some have this ability where you're just sitting there, what's going on with him? And it makes them, even if they're not like A++ officially attractive to a society, I find they're more interesting. If you're interesting and attractive, that's even more appealing.
Well, one of the better compliments that I've gotten from Jane is that I actually called bullshit on. See, it's a podcast. I can actually say that.
Danny.
Was one time when we were musing the possibility of turning Leaving Cancer for the Circus, my book, into a screenplay or a film. She said that Mark Ruffalo should play me.
Mark Ruffalo.
And she said, well, Mark Ruffalo should play you, but you're better looking than him. At which point I did say that BS, whatever.
No, it's true.
But he isn't
he
isn't a classically good-looking person,
Such a teddy bear cutie. Oh, my God. So extremely attractive in a not normal way.
Right. But can you think of any others? I'm trying to think of
God.
some others that are favorites of yours.
Oh, it's hard.
Well, for instance, you some person who I would think never would have fit into your wheelhouse is Josh Homme from Queens of the Stone Age.
Oh, yeah,
he's a big football-looking guy who almost kind of has an Archie.
I know, isn't that
quality
weird?
to
he
him.
Does. It's like Archie / Elvis. It's the weirdest thing going on there. Maybe that's it. I mean, he's an anomaly. Who looks or acts like him? And he's got amazing music. I mean, the music is fabulous. I'm not sure. He doesn't attract me like a Mark Ruffalo, but he's sexy in his own odd way.
Maybe we'll just
check him out, girls.
I'll make a Queens of the Stone Age frontman. There you go. Easy enough to check out. If you like big hunky guys, you're going to like that, ladies.
Yes.
That's for sure. Well, let's close it out with an area of consumption, the overarching theme of this particular podcast, which sometimes I do and sometimes I don't. That would be something that you've missed quite a bit during our time of coronavirus and lockdown, which is retail consumption.
I know what you're talking about.
And you have sort of been moved into the world. You're wearing brand new sandals right now, as a matter of fact.
Amazon.
But many of those things now have come in Amazon, and I think it's something that your way of maybe going off and taking a drive, or me going off and hitting some golf balls or something, sometimes would just be going to the store, even if you never bought something.
It's weird. I mean, when I was living in like Chicago or New York or wherever, London, you go in and out of stores just to get warm, so that's just part of everyday life when you live in a big city. And so I got used to that, but I also, dare I say it, I don't mind a nice little retail purchase once in a while, even if it's something small. I think I fit into that problem. I'm probably an addict. I'm a recovering addict.
I think I would go all the way to addict, but actually we do have, I think we've talked about this in another podcast, Jane does have several pieces of jewelry which were purchased in Puerto Vallarta because we went into the stores because it was too freaking hot. It was the opposite of that.
I know. Oh, it was fabulous.
Yeah, absolutely fabulous spot to go to.
Let's go again sometime.
Yeah, consuming travel. That's our next step. That's our next step here on our journey.
We can talk about that.
Or on our coronavirus journey. Well, we did go to Brownville, Nebraska a couple weekends ago.
Don't miss it, but wait for the virus to be over.
Quaint little town right on the Mississippi River with a lot of galleries, many of which were closed. We probably will return. Maybe we'll revisit that on another edition of Reconcilable Differences with Danny and Jane. I take the lead position. I could say it was just alphabetical, but it's not.
This podcast was made possible by our great sponsors like
Easton Roofing, the presenting sponsor of Kansas City Profiles at the Danny Kling Scale Reasonably Irreverent podcast. Easton Roofing, where integrity matters.
We hope you enjoyed the latest Danny Clinkscale Reasonably Irreverent podcast. Come back soon for something fresh and new.